Welcome to Crashing Maya. I'm Alex, and today we'll be covering curves and surfaces, also known as NURBS objects. So, let's first talk about curves. I'm going to go to my curves shelf and set my Maya to surfaces. By default, these are the curve tools you'll have on your shelf, but we can add other ones as well. So I'm going to hold Control Shift. I'm going to click on Create. I'm going to add the CV curve tool and the Bezier curve tool, and I'm going to use the middle mouse button to drag them here next to my other curve tools. And let's go over the different ways you can create curves in Maya. I'm going to first show you the EP curve tool, and that just stands for edit points. And I'm going to click, and click, and there's our curve. And if we right click, we can go to control vertices, edit points, hull, back to object mode, or curve point. So I'm going to click control vertices, show you what those do. Basically, you can move the control vertices around, and the curve is interpolated between those points. Now, by default, the curve is going to be a little chunky. You can see it's a little choppy here. So we can press 3 to show a high resolution version of that curve. And so it's a very simple curve tool. You just click the points you want the curve to go through, and that's it. And we can also move the edit point. So right click, go to edit point. You can move those like that. But you can see the if there was Bezier handles, they stay. They don't change with the curve. But if you use the actual control vertices, you can have a little more control over the shape of your curve. And the next component mode is the curve point. Now this is for you left click and drag, and you drop points. You can shift and drop more points. This is used for adding edit points along the curve. And that's about it. And you can also see the hull, and so you can select. Well, I can't select this for some reason, but basically the hull gives you a connection of all the control vertices. Alright, so the next curve tool we're going to use is the CV curve tool. This one, it works a little differently. Basically, you have to draw every control vertex. So if we look at our EP curve that we made, we have one control vertex, another one, and another one, then one here, one here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 control vertices to create this curve. So when I start clicking to create my curve, I actually am not making the curve yet. This is just the hull that is used to create the curve, and you will not see the final product until you at least drop 4 control vertices. So let's put a 5th one down. And this is now this curve is exactly built like this one, but we use a different way to make it. So instead of clicking 3 times, we clicked 5 times because we were drawing the control vertices. But you can see they're the same. Also, you notice that most of the dots look like this, the control vertices, but some of them are shaped like this. So the square one, that's the start of the curve, and the U is the direction. So it starts here and it's going in this direction. It's the same with this one. Now we'll use the Bezier curve tool, and if you've used Illustrator or Photoshop, it's pen tool. It works the same way. Basically, click and drag. I'm going to click and drag and click and drag. And the way I'm finishing the tool is I'm pressing W. That's kind of my go-to. You can also press Q or just enter. And if we go to control vertices, you actually get the Bezier handles to edit the curve. This is relatively new to Maya, and but it's a nice addition. It's a nice way to edit your curves instead of just the control vertices. Alright, and you also have the pencil tool, and basically you click and drag and you draw a curve. Alright, so let's actually use these curves for something. If we click on the surfaces shelf, there's a bunch of NURBS operations we can do, and for those we need curves. So I'm gonna I'm going to use the EP curve. That's my go-to. And let's first create a wine glass. It's kind of the classic curve NURBS object you can make. So I'm going to just click and click like that. And what I'm doing is creating the profile of my glass. And I don't really care about the shape of the curve yet because I'm going to change it once I finish. So I just need to drop all of the components. I'm holding X to snap the grid. And what you're trying to do is, if this is our center line and this is our origin, we want to start at the center line, we want to end up at the origin. That way it will revolve this way. We'll use the Revolve tool, which is right up here. Okay, so I'm going to click that, drag, and I click this to the grid because if you imagine this being a Bezier line, you want it to be straight, so you get a nice even curve through the center. And I'm going to use my arrow keys, left and right, to pick walk along the curve. And I can do that and then use the middle mouse button to move the points just a nice and easy way to navigate throughout your curve. For this I'm going to use X again. Just click. Oops. Okay. So when you're working with control vertices, if you want to get a sharper sharper direction change, all you need to do is just get the points close to each other. And I held shift while using the middle mouse button to move, and this locks your move direction in an axis. Okay, so that's done. Now let's do a revolve and see what the shape of it looks like. We can edit it even after creating it. So let me just reset the tool, edit, reset, and click apply. That's it. And that looks pretty good. Now the reason it's black is because our surface is reversed, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So here's our just a NURBS plane, and if you flip it over, it's black. And that's because it's not getting any light on it. And if you go into lighting in your viewport, you can turn on two-sided lighting. You can then see the lighting on the back of it. But I like to keep it off because I want to know if there's any issues with my geometry, like some of the objects being reversed. So to fix it, all we have to do is reverse our surface direction, and we'll just hold the space bar, go to surfaces, edit NURBS, and reverse surface direction, and that flips the NURBS object in the correct direction. So now I'm going to select this curve. Now you can do it from the outliner, or you can just drag a selection over everything, or basically where your curve is. Hold Control and drag a selection over what you don't want selected, and we'll deselect. And if you right click in empty space, click Control Vertex, it will let you select the control vertices again, and then we can adjust our curve, and the shape will be updated. There we go. Pretty happy with that. Looks pretty good. Now, a NURBS object or a surface like this is made actually of a simple sheet, a plane, and that's so I like to think of it as being paper, and you just kind of fold it into what you want, and it always starts with a square. So Easy example is this plane. This is just a NURBS surface, and if we move the points around, you can see it'll update and give us a. We can adjust it just like we do curves, but it makes a shape out of them. So if we click a sphere, NURBS sphere, it's actually the same as our plane. And if I make a cylinder, I'll show what I mean. So if we take this plane and we wrap it around and connect it at two edges, so right here, this is the place where this shape is connected, we can see we can make a cylinder. And if we take those points and we pinch them, we can make a sphere. So this sphere is actually made out of just a simple NURBS plane. And if we grab the vertices, control vertices in the center here and start pulling them apart, we can see that this is just a plane. Okay, so a cube, a NURBS cube, is actually just a bunch of planes. So knowing this, any shape you make with a NURBS object will be a plane. So this is actually a plane wrapped into a cylinder, and then the cylinder is bent into a torus. So the thing is, we can render this, but the thing is, the problem is you have to tessellate it. So at render time, everything gets tessellated. So if I click render, we can see what the glass looks like, and you can see that line there, that this weird effect, the glow that's happening on the surface, and there's also actually chunky over there. We need to fix that. Now, it's hard to do it with a NURBS. It's not that it's hard. It's a little more involved with NURBS objects. You basically have to open the attributes editor, go into the tessellation, and display render tessellation. When you turn that on, this shows you what your object actually renders as. So these are the triangles that the NURBS object gets converted to render. So if you want it to render better, what you need to do is basically add some divisions. So if we turn on enable advanced, so we can turn on advanced tessellation, and in here under primary tessellation we can add divisions. I don't know why it's not updating. Alright, so I guess the viewport 2.0 doesn't yet support tessellation controls for NURBS objects. So go into under render for the viewport, set it to legacy default viewport, and then if we drag the numbers here, we can see we're adding tessellation or resolution to our object. So if we render again, see, it's nice and smooth now. But doing it this way is, you can see our object is getting a little heavy, and I don't like to do it this way. I like to convert the object to polygons. Plus, it's easier to texture because you can change the UVs, which you can't on this. And UVs are basically stuck in this kind of format. You can't change them at all. So what we do is we convert to polygons. So I'm going to go to modify, convert, and open up the options for NURBS to polygons. And the default settings are like so, but we want to change them so that we can actually make something usable, because if we just use the default settings, you can see it gives us kind of a messy geometry. What we're going to do is set our type to quads. We want quads, we don't want triangles, and set the tessellation method to general. Under the U type, I'm going to set per span number of isoparams, and per number V type I want to do the same. And I'm going to set initially the number of the U and V direction to 1, or divisions to 1. I'm going to click apply. There's our NURBS polygon object. I'm going to hide the glass, the NURBS glass, just to show the polygon glass. And if we press 3, it'll subdivide, but the shape changes a lot. That's because we didn't give it a lot of resolution, because I wanted to work that interactively. So I'm going to open up the NURBS Tessellate under inputs, select the U number, and middle mouse drag. Now I can add resolution this way. I'm going to select the V number and middle mouse drag until I'm happy with the result. And here's our polygon version of the glass. And the thing is, if you keep all of your history without deleting history, it means that you can still adjust the glass, and even the poly object will update. Now, if you want to keep that construction history, you can. And if you want to make changes for testing, all you have to do is duplicate, select the original one with the history, and hide it. That way it'll stay in our outliner, in our scene, until we are happy that we're done with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this up a little bit. When I made it, we can see, because it revolved around the center, we have this vertex here that's connected to a lot of edges. And I want to clean this up. And the way I'm going to do it, actually I talk about in a different video that I made that you can look up on my channel, and that's how to get rid of poles or triangles on spheres. We're going to use this method here. So first things first, I'm going to delete this half, and then I'm going to delete this. This way I only have this much to work with. Makes it easier. I'm going to use the multi-cut tool, and I'm going to drag on this edge, which is basically the first edge loop around the center at the 45-degree line, so right in the middle. I'm going to go straight up and find the closest vertice that matches if we go straight vertical. So this is the one, and then same horizontal. Then I'm going to repeat that like this. I'm going to double click this edge, this one, and this one, and hit Control Delete. I'm going to select these 3 edges and just hit delete without control. So we got rid of the pole. We have nice clean quads, and we'll repeat the process here. Now, one thing you can do, we can't work on the other side, so I'm going to flip it. Flip the object, and in scale Y I'm going to put -1. This will temporarily turn the object upside down. This way in the top view I can see it. And same process here. Control Delete, select this one, and this one, and just hit delete. Go to object mode, select this glass here, and I'm going to Control D, put 90 in Y, and Shift D, select all of them. Then I'm going to combine, merge vertices, and soften edge. If you're not sure where all of those are, under polygons we have mesh combine, which will combine the separate objects into one. Under edit mesh, is it edit mesh? Under mesh, nope, should be under edit mesh. We need to merge, so you find merge components. That's this button here, and then under normals we soften edge. And then clear history, Shift Alt D. And there it is. There's our wine glass. It's all quadded up. We have nice geometry, no poles, and it's ready for UV. In the next video, I'm going to continue the curves and NURBS and surfaces tutorials, and we'll make a twisted rope. So if you have any comments, leave them below and watch the next video. Thank you. Bye.